Con Abortion by Adari Madera, Emily Rojo, Jaylene Mercado, Adrian Luna, Alexandra Rodriguez, Jonathan Rodriguez, Jose de la Cruz, and Dana Sanchez.
Claire Kaplan's article, "Abortion is defined as the injustice termination of pregnancy, which usually is legal only before the first trimester, except for 4 out of the 50 states. The definition of murder is the unlawful, premeditated killing of one human being by another. There are two types of abortions. The medical abortion involves taking medications to end the pregnancy. It doesn't require surgery or an anesthetic. It can be used at any time of the pregnancy. Surgical abortion involves having a procedure with local anesthetic, conscious sedation, or generous anesthetic. Two types of surgical abortions: vacuum and suction aspiration. This process involves inserting a tube through the cervix and into your womb. This pregnancy is then removed by the suction.
Process of life. According to https://www.lifematters.org/need help/questions about abortion/when does life begin? Life begins at fertilization. The minute the sperm cells unite with an octite, as little as 18 days after conception, there are detections of the baby's heart. Only 4 days after the woman missed a period. Approximately 6 weeks after conception, a signal from the brain can be detected. In 8 to 10 weeks, the embryo moves spontaneously, although the mother may not feel it. In those 8 weeks, the embryo also develops, such as squinting, jaw movement, and attempts of grasping. Lastly, by 7 weeks, the embryo hiccups and intermittent breathing motions.
On this topic. We are against abortion because it is the deliberate ending of a pregnancy before the fetus can survive. We believe the fetus should have a chance at life. There are many alternatives one could take to being precautious about pregnancy instead of taking it upon yourself to determine whether the baby should live or die. For example, using contraceptives in order to avoid pregnancy, giving up the baby to a foster care facility, or consider adoption as well as direct adoption. The taking of another person's life should not be the solution to someone's inconvenience.
Biblical argument. In the Bible, children were gifts of God and were praised. In Psalm 139, David confesses to God that he was indeed being formed as a human being inside his mother's womb. Note that the Bible doesn't speak of fetal life as mere biochemistry. So the first point in Psalm 139, David recognizes God as omniscient, which means all-knowing. Therefore, he knows what David is doing at all times. God is also aware of David's thoughts and cannot escape him. Finally, David confesses that God was there forming him in the womb. This psalm is the inspired record of David's praise for God's sovereignty in his life. David quotes, "You created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book, before one of them came to be." Here, David speaks of God's relationship while he was growing, developing before birth. God is said to be the only one allowed to give and take human life away. Now, in the readings of Genesis, humans are created in the image and likeness of God. God is the essence of humanness. Although God's image in man was marred at the fall, it was not extinct. Thus, the unborn baby is made in the image of God and therefore fully human in God's sight. The Hippocratic Oath is an oath stating the obligations and proper conduct of doctors, formally taken by those beginning medical practice. Parts of the oath are still used in most medical schools.
Philosophical argument. So, when does a human being become a person? At what point in the stages of creation are we allowed to kill the baby? The famous philosopher St. Augustine quoted, "An unjust law is no law at all." Murder is against the law. Isn't that the same as having an abortion? When it comes to the philosophical viewpoint, there are two main arguments concerning the morality of abortion: whether it is the embryo's right to life, or whether the woman's bodily rights justify the abortion. Wouldn't that be violating the right of the embryo, though? It had no say in how or why it was brought upon this world, yet the mother did, and ironically, she also gets to decide whether or not it should be allowed the chance to live.
Only harm the baby, but the mother as well. There are many risks that come after having an abortion, such as pelvic infections that are caused by bacteria from the cervix that enter the uterus during abortion. There is also a risk of having a weak or damaged cervix after the abortion. Emotional effects also occur after an abortion. Women often feel guilty or empty, and sometimes wonder whether the decision was wrong. With all these negative effects included, there is also further side effects and consequences these can have on a woman and her body. For example, a damaged cervix could lead women that are trying to become pregnant to give birth prematurely or could result in the loss of the pregnancy altogether. Some emotional effects that can result from the abortion are that women are 34% more likely to develop an anxiety disorder and 37% more likely to experience depression, which could furthermore lead to the suicide of the woman.
Legal argument. Although Roe v. Wade states that, in the 14th Amendment, the same one that supports Roe v. Wade, claims, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property, without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws." So, how does one justify the following one law while ignoring others because it is convenient?
Excerpt. The following excerpt can be found in Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail. One is not only illegal, but more responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, one has more responsibility to obey unjust laws. As said by King, moral conscience should always outlaw any legal laws. When accepting the killing of a child who has no knowledge of the world that is ahead, we are breaking moral law. Although it may be physically legal, spiritually we are being hypocrites by allowing the unlawful killing of an innocent person. It is unfair that one human decides between life or death of another human being just because that person couldn't be protected and safe when wanting to have a good time. When is it okay to have an abortion? Week 14, when the heart is pumping several quarts of blood through the body every day? What about week 15, when the baby has an adult's taste buds? How about month 4, when the bone marrow is starting to form? At week 4, there are brain waves detectable. How about week 3? The kid's backbone, spinal column, and nervous system are forming. How by day 22? The heart's already beating with the child's blood, which may be of a different blood type than the mother. So please, answer me this. When is it okay to have an abortion?
Conclusion continued. So what justifies murdering an innocent child? The fact that it was inconvenient? If you wouldn't kill a baby and wouldn't consider having an abortion, why would you still be in favor of it? A slave owner didn't get to choose to hold slaves. Nazis didn't get to decide which Jews got to live and which died. So under no circumstance is the fact that it is legal justify the act of murdering a baby. There are plenty evil things in history that have been normalized, but that doesn't stop it from being immoral. As I mentioned, slavery and the genocide of the Jewish people serve as perfect examples of immoral things that at one point became normalized and accepted. Perhaps in the future, people will look back on allowing abortions the same way we look back on how we allowed slavery. It will be seen as a mistake, the same way that things in the past have been.
Our sources for this presentation were Michael Zucker, Completing the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, and Constitutional Rights, Safe Abortion, Technical and Policy Guidelines for Health Systems, Abortion and the Politics of Motherhood by Kristen Luker, Dale Hanson's Abortion, Murder, or Medical Procedure, www.realhealthcarerespectlife.com, Beckwith F. Defending Abortion Philosophically, The Journal of Medicine, and by Grisez, Abortion, The Myths, the Realities, and the Arguments, New York, Corpus Books.